Questions? Who over here? Donna? All right, Donna.
Diane.
Diane, all right, Diane's here. Donna can come next.
You were talking about the revolution of mind and also with that spirit. And I was wondering about how, in the next coming years, how would this affect our world religions? And will this create more chaos and war? I hope not. But, you know, there are millions and millions of people that are tied into their religions and feel this is the only way.
Yes, this is a very good question, Diane. Anything else? Or should we answer?
Yes, would you answer that? Because, you know, my family they're very deeply, they're Catholic, and I've tried to talk to them, and I give them my ideas. They think I'm a real space cadet, but that's all right. But I know with things going on that it's very difficult for them. And if it's for them, I know it's for millions of people too.
All right, this was said with good empathy and compassion. Gary, how are we doing on time?
5:58. 6 minutes.
All right, good. We have plenty of time to answer this. It's a very, very important question because it touches every single one of your lives. As people who walk the edge a little bit and play once in a while, put your black sheep clothes on here and there, you can all relate to knowing people or having family and friends who do think you are wacky or way out there or whatever. But from one perspective, those people who think you are wacky are just as wacky. Do you understand? And you could say that to them. Well, you think I'm wacky. I think you're just as wacky. And that will give them something really to dream on at night. Now, society is designed in such a way, civilizations are designed in such a way, that before you are born, you know sort of the mass agreement that you are going to come into. And so let's say the mass agreement that you all knew you were going to be born into, there would be cars on Earth, and that this would be part of it. If it was 200 years earlier, you would be using different modalities of transportation, food, clothing, etc. So before you come on, you are very aware of what the mass agreement will be, how people will conduct life and what they will believe and how they will then exploit those beliefs or live out those beliefs. No matter what you believe, there's always a bigger belief that can be had. So you can look at different groups around the planet and say, wow, they are real fundamental black and white thinkers. Look how limiting their ideas are. If one steps outside of this, then kaboom. Look today what's happening in parts of Iran, where, and even Iraq, where not so many years ago, few decades, women could dress as Westerners, they could wear miniskirts, they could put their hair showing and wear a bit of makeup, and now today women are terrified to go out of their house unless they are veiled, unless they have full garb on. Or they are found dead in the streets. So people become fanatical with their beliefs. And when their beliefs are threatened, then they become even more desperate with their beliefs. Now here's the thing about religious beliefs. What is religion? What is it really? Think about it. Some of you are raised Catholics, Jewish, let's say Protestants, and perhaps there are some Hindu, Buddhist, maybe even Muslim beliefs. But what are these religions? They are a way of people on earth wanting to understand the other world. Yet talk about the other world and say, you know, I'm interested in the other world, people say you're crazy. But every religion uses the term other world. So it's quite well known that there are other worlds. Religions one could say, have been set up by beings, physical and non-physical, who wish to, on a very neutral level, study humanity as they would go through various experiments of beliefs. On a more ominous level, one could say that certain beings set up religions as custodial organizations to contain and control people, to have them feed their emotional energy towards something and their physical monies and bodies towards something else, and that would keep them compartmentalized by creating a hierarchy where in order to get to the other world you had to pay or go through a human vehicle. And this is all control. It's all control. But you see, religious beliefs run very, very deep. They are not just about this lifetime. They are in your genealogy. So great-great-great-great-grandma might have been a fanatical Catholic. And so that program or that approach to reality is passed on in the blood. You'll never meet these people, but you keep living what they do over and over again. Now, consciousness involves the ability to ask yourself, oneself, is what I am doing productive? Am I working towards productivity? Am I enhancing my life or taking away from it? That's consciousness, a form of it. When people get caught up in religious beliefs, there is no self-reflection of this nature. There is a should. There is a guilt. There is a duty. Christianity in particular is emphasized on sin. Even more important, and we are not going to denigrate all of the world religions, we are going to simply show you how they are symbols of other realities. Christianity basically uses the game board. You say, oh, I didn't know Christianity uses the game board. It's true. If you travel around the world and look at the various churches, you'll see those black and white checkers everywhere. But more important, those black and white checkers could not be built without a core symbol called the cross. Look at this black and white board here, and you will see, we have 5 minutes now, thank you. It is a series of crosses that are connected to make a grid, and that grid is filled in with black and white energy, denoting positive, negative, day and night, black and white, etc., or 1 and 0. 1 being white, 0 being dark, 1 being the phallus, 0 being the womb. Now, when a world religion takes a character who is really not even reported to have existed and makes a composite of him, as the famous Constantine and his gang did, and they put him not in his most glorious moment of supposedly rising from the dead, but they put him on a cross, crucified. And for thousands of years, people wear this symbol on their thymus gland, between their heart chakra and their throat chakra. You say, why is that so important? We say to you, wherever there is the center of a cross, it is a point of power. Remember, 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 the witches always used to gather at the crossroads. That was a point of power. So what has Christianity done? They put a dead man on the point of power and say, better not think about going here. The grid being a map to other worlds, to heaven, so to speak, to getting into multidimensional living. Quite simply, there has been a massive shake-up. You can see it in Christianity by the last number of years of all of the exposure of the abuse of children. And notice how it's been contained and covered up. You don't get the details, you just get the stories. And some of you have been closer to it. Do not think that other religions are more holy. When you deal with power, you deal with the potential of corruption of that power. And that corruption will correspond to the various energy centers in the body. So because the two most important energy centers that you first must get down to would be root chakra and sexual chakra, chakra 1, chakra 2, this is where you find most of your failings. And let's say that world religions are going to go through a huge turmoil in the next few years as the so-called extraterrestrial UFO, other world inhabitants begin to show their place. This is of utmost importance. Sometimes people would rather lose their money than lose their religion. It is true. Because it is how they identify. And so there's going to be a lot of turmoil about this. However, and we'll take a recess in just a moment, there'll be a shattering of beliefs. And there would have been a shattering of beliefs long ago, but you must remember that those that hold the world religions together, they all belong to secret societies. They are not steadfastly religious. They have all been infiltrated by different Masonic groups and secret societies of unknown variety of sources that have access to very old planetary information. And they know darn well if they brought that information forward and disclosed it to the public, all religions would fold overnight. Now, going to be big turmoil in these next few years, and we'll talk about this in part 2 of this afternoon's discussion. But things do not just happen on a physical level. They happen on a level of energy. And we will say that one of the greatest things you can look forward to is, well, how do we describe it? The Catholics have a picture of it, and they called it Pentecost. Do you remember? And it was supposedly after Christ had risen and spent a bunch of days on the surface, then everyone got together, and then he went back into heaven, and everyone had the dove and the energy come down to their head, etc. You remember the pictures, those of you who saw that thing? One could say that is a wonderful symbol for a dispensation of energy that can be spread across the board to everyone on the planet, so everyone has a big aha, a big letting go, a big new connection to reality. Dream it. Let's take a recess for about 5 minutes or less, please. Don't run off too far, and we'll come back for part 2 of this afternoon's discussion. Great pleasure.